Greetings and welcome back to Becoming a Published Author is Fun. And if that title confuses you or makes you wonder, then I suggest you go back and look at episode 8, where I explain why I call it becoming a published author is fun. Because it is. It can be fun. But today we're going to be in episode 15. And we're going to be looking at editing. Now, I could spend hours probably discussing editing with you because it's a very complicated uh, process, and but it's also a necessity. You must edit your book. If you think you can write a book, sit down and write a book and publish it the way you wrote it, it's not going to fly. You're going to make errors. You'll probably make a lot of errors, so you need editing. And editing is not just a simple term. There's a lot of different things involved in that. We'll get into that in a moment. But first of all, I have a friend who is in fact, I have more than one friend who are professional editors. Both are ladies. Both of them are very serious about providing the editing and information, the guidance. It's a business. It's part of their business, in which it's a service that they provide to people such as yourself. That's one way you can go. And I would actually recommend that if you can't afford to get an editor, and you don't get involved in a course like what I offer, then you need to have somebody. You're going to be like me, a do-it-yourselfer. Now, I'm a do-it-yourselfer, but I'm also one who teaches you how to edit your own books. But it's going to be teaching you from a perspective of doing it yourself. If you don't want to do it that way, you're going to end up having to hire somebody. Or unless you got somebody who just loves you to pieces and is willing to offer that kind of a service for you for free. Not likely, but it's possible. But so there's basically two types of editors out there. The thing is, there's a lot of similarities between the two of us. The pro and the do-it-yourselfer. Think of it this way. You hire a pro so that you don't have to be a do-it-yourselfer. And one of the things that I teach in my course is that having an editor, having somebody you can trust, that is something good. That's not something to be scared of. When I was publishing my first book, now I wasn't publishing it, I was actually had it published for me. The publisher, which was a self-publisher, offered editing to me. I refused it because I had certain things in that book that I wanted to stay in it, and I was concerned that they might take it out. And so I didn't know whether I had any rights, privileges, or whatever in that area, so I chose to do it myself. And then eventually I became a do-it-yourselfer through that process. I wasn't born that way. And so I learned to be a do-it-yourselfer. It is a lot of work. And so if you can hire somebody, then you want to do it. But be sure it's somebody who not only you can trust, most of them out there, I would imagine, you can trust them. But you want to do an interview with them. You want to talk to them. You want to find out who they are, what they are, and what their history is, and credentials they have. Maybe you could even check out some authors who have used their services. But however it goes, you want to get one who is a pro and who can identify with you, who will take the effort to learn you and to study you, to help you be a better, not to help you write the book the way they want it written. They want to edit the books so it's what you want to have published. And so there's a collaborative type of thing. They work with you. These two ladies that I know, both are, to my knowledge, they are both that type of editor. They want to help you. But we're looking at it from a DIY purpose, do it yourself. And so let's look at that. So we're looking, the first question was, should you answer or hire an editor? And the basic answer to that is, if you can afford it, I would recommend it. Now, if a DIY, do-it-yourselfer, then what? Well, the first thing you want to do is recognize the fact that you now have taken onto yourself a responsibility. Now, what that means simply is this. The pro up here, there's different things that they do for you. You are now going to say, well, I'm going to do everything they do. That's easy to say, but it's not so easy to do. They do a lot. We're going to just look at touch a little bit of that right now. But if you have to be a DIY, then you have to recognize that you have the responsibility to do what they would do for you. Okay? So, you have a responsibility. What does that involve? Well, it involves time. Time is a very valuable asset. And so whenever, think of yourself as an author now. As an author, you're going to take time away from your writing, your actual writing, to do the editing. That's part of your writings. I recognize that. But some of the, when I'm talking here, is using your imagination and writing a story is one part of it. But editing it so that it's something you can sell is a totally different thing. And they work together. But it takes time. You have to be willing to invest time. So then there is this. There are different types of editors. So let's say you're a content editor. So what that means is you're going to be looking at the storyline. You're going, or another way of saying it, you're going to develop the story. You're going to develop the story. You're going to check for any missing parts, make sure there's nothing missing or nothing added in there that you don't want. Sort of an overview of the whole story. You want to look at it, make sure that everything is there that you want there, and there's nothing there that you don't want there, and that it makes sense, the whole thing. You want a story that flows. That's what I'm going to put. We'll put that up here a little bit. That flows. Well, I can't, there we go. So, let's put that over there a little bit more where you can really see it. So it flows. So that's one of the things that is that you, first of all, it takes time, and then that time is involved, part of it is doing a content editing. Another part is called copy, copy, or you may have heard it called line editing. Now, that I call that generally basics. Why? Because it involves sentence structure. And it also involves your grammar. It also involves punctuation and more. These are just some of the basics. You may not be able to read that. It got a little crunched up there, but it's sentence structure, grammar, punctuation, spelling, things of this nature. You're going to be checking it line by line by line. And that's why it's sometimes called a line editor. Another type of editor is called a proof. Now you don't get to that one until you get to the end. What I want you to understand is these two here, this one here and this one here, I'm going to go like this. To signify something for you. Hope you can see that. What I put on here, this little symbol I made up here, is to indicate to you that you're going to do it over and over and over again. Throughout your writing process, you're going to be doing this over and over again. Now, I would recommend you do it on a chapter by chapter basis. Some may do it by scene. You need to find out what's comfortable for you. Just remember that if you're doing a line by line, I would suggest that to be you take a chapter and then you do that line by line throughout the chapter. But you might want to do it more frequent than that. That's up to you. Just to know that every time you do it, that's going to stop and take time to do it. And but you know also that you have to do it, because if you are making mistakes up here in the storyline, the developing part of it, then that's going to show up in the finished product, and the reader's going to be confused, the reader's going to be unhappy, and they may never buy from you again. Basics here. This can turn a reader off real fast. Poor sentence structure, poor grammar. Now when I'm talking about grammar, I'm not talking about where a character talks. The rules that apply to grammar, there are some things that are absolutes, but basically when you get to talking, where the character is talking, consistency is far more important than the actual grammar within the quote, put it this way, in the quotes or in their thinking process if you're showing their thinking. For instance, let's use what they used to teach us in high school or grammar school was ain't in the dictionary is what they used to say. Well, nowadays it is, but the idea was not to use ain't. But you know what? Some people actually talk that way and use the word ain't all the way. So if you have a character who uses ain't, that's fine. Just be consistent so that character continues to use it throughout the book unless they are getting an education, they're growing in their knowledge and wisdom and so forth, which will be seen in the book itself anyhow. So grammar outside of the speech has some absolute rules. Now in fiction, you have some more flexibility than you do in nonfiction, but you still have rules. Punctuation, many rules there, but there are some areas that are open to debate, and so that is something that you have to make a choice on. But we remember this, consistency. I'm going to put that down here, consistency. I want you to remember that word, because whatever you choose, whether it's grammar or punctuation, those choices you want to be consistent in. If you're not consistent, the reader will pick it up. And if the reader picks it up, and they do a review of your book, you might get a low review. Or you can get a high review depending upon how consistent you were. So those two things are repeatable. Something you do over and over again. The proof editing is what your final proof that you're going to do. Now, all this, I'm going to take this stuff off of here. Proof editing, actually, you are looking at it and you're looking at going over it and looking to see if everything is there. But once you get done with the editing, do-it-yourself editing, you still need eyes. By that I don't mean your eyes. I mean somebody else's. You should try to get one. I'm going to say, I'm going to change that. Try to get two or more. Two pair or more. Two people or more. The more people you get, the more eyes you get on the subject. They're going to see things from a different viewpoint than you do. You already know how the story is supposed to go, so when you read it, there's a chance that your brain will just make you think it's there when it's not. But when you are involving other people, they don't know how it's going to go, and they will they will see it through their eyes, and therefore their editing, they might pick things up that you missed. So it's important. Two or more pair of eyes on your writing. So you've done your proof, and now you're going to go to getting it published. Now, if you're doing the publishing yourself, you already have done the proof, so it should be ready to go. If you are hiring somebody else to publish your book, then they might have editing. Now, that's not true with us. When we've been working, if we're working with you, we've been doing through this whole thing with you, this whole process with you, helping you by being that extra pair of eyes. When you work with us, there's you, and then there's me. And so that's two pair of eyes looking at your story, and you are already getting the two pair of eyes looking at your book. And so when it gets to the published part of it, you're ready. That's what a whole proofing about is. The proof is your final edit. And once it's got past that, then you can get published. And that is kind of a very, very, very basic look at editing. Now, I have not talked to these editors these friends of mine, but however, I don't think they would oppose if I gave their names out. I'm not going to give them out in this video. But if you are interested in having somebody look at your book, and you're in with the course I'm offering, you want that, hire an editor, you choose to do that, then I will provide that information to you as to how to get in contact with them. That is just something that I will do for you. But it's and that is something I do not know their rates or anything of this nature. So, but I do know how to get in contact with them, and so I can pass that kind of information on to you. But if you're going to do it yourself, then remember this: if you're going through a basic author's training, you have me. I will help you with that responsibility. I will help you with the eyes on every aspect of the editing, and then I will. Of course, once you get there, comes the guaranteed publishing. That is it for today. That is our episode and 15. I will see you in the next episode.